Vince, how you doing? Ron, Bumblefoot, Thal here. Hope you're doing okay. Hope everything is all right. So you asked me what I thought about Yngwie Malmsteen. I mean, hell, he was a game changer, absolute game changer. Before him, there was Eddie Van Halen. There were some guitar players out there doing some great shit. Vi was rising up. You had Eddie, you had Holdsworth, you had so many great dudes. But in the rock world, as far as that, you had, as far as incorporating classic, there was Uli, who was doing quite a bit of that. And you had Randy Rhoads that was taking true guitar classical music and bringing it into metal. But Yngwie was the first one to just raise the bar so high. And I'll never forget when I first heard that Steeler album with his solo, the acoustic one. And I immediately had to just try and learn it. And I still remember it. And it cranks it up. Oh, yeah, great stuff. And then Alcatraz. I was a huge, I always say I am a huge Yngwie fan. Even tried to get his both parts together. He's going. So remember it. How is it that I can't remember my own damn songs, but I could remember that? So anyway, yeah, and then when, Marching Out and Rising Force and everything, when that came out, it was just incredible, just such great stuff. And the other one, before the solo, what was it? Boom. Craziness. Oh wait. Try and get the bass in there. Yeah. Great stuff. Love Yngwie. Yeah, it was actually toured with him for 5 weeks in 2014. That was a blast. Crazy memories. Very fun guy to hang with, always telling jokes, and it was cool. And then you also asked me, what's it like to play with Mike Portnoy? Well, imagine playing with, one of the greatest drummers in the world. It's pretty damn cool. And nothing is unplayable. Like, anything you can come up with can be played. It's wonderful. And this crazy riff that was in 19, it was like he's playing it. Whatever else, as we're writing the stuff and coming up with all these crazy, should turn it down. Sons of Apollo tuning. position this, and then tune down. Sounds like power tuning. In 15, so pretty much anything wacky you could come up with, you got yourself, you know, a kick-ass drummer. So that's pretty cool. I've been lucky. I've gotten to play with a lot of great drummers. I play now with a guy named Kyle Hughes, who's phenomenal. Jan Ray Luzier from Korn, incredible. Some great drummers, and Mike is, you know, he's top of every list. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for your questions, and I hope everything is okay. And I look forward to seeing you when the planet reopens its doors and we can all see each other again. Until then, be safe, be happy, be healthy, be helpful, be good. All right, take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Vince, you have returned with a second cameo. This time you want to talk about Ritchie Blackmore. Last time we were talking about Yngwie and Mike Portnoy. So Ritchie Blackmore, there was so much to talk about. You know, so influential and inspiring as far as, you know, Yngwie also. You know, obviously very strong inspirations. Ritchie, the sound of his driven Stratocaster, the vibrato he gets from the floating bridge, and the way he uses just thirds and fourths of the chord. You know, and he made just such, you know, classic stuff that every kid wanted to learn. So yeah, he did okay. But the big question, purple or rainbow? That's the question. Now, Purple had some of the most legendary songs, I would argue, in the early, you know, Mark II, Mark III kind of periods of of the lineup. Even the return of it, like I was playing before. Sweet Lucy was a dancer, but none of us could chance her because she was a samurai. So yeah, but Rainbow, which I guess you could say was kind of more of his own solo thing, but a band. Dio, he had Dio, and the stuff he did with Dio was pretty huge. That Rising album was iconic. And then even with Jolene Turner, I mean, so many great songs with him. Stone Cold, Surrender, I mean, whoa. Do you remember me on the street of dreams? Trying to do it from memory. I fucked it up. The bar. So yeah. So that is the question. Rainbow or purple? Purple or rainbow? Fuck it, both. Thank you, Ritchie Blackmore, for both. Alrighty. Vince, be good. All the best. Take care, man. Vince, how you doing? Ronnie. So, you want to talk about Randy Rhoads? Very cool. Yeah, one of my favorites. I remember the first time I heard Blizzard when it just came out. I was about maybe 11 years old. And that made me want to go out and get a floating bridge on my guitar so I could do, you know, all that stuff. And especially when Diary came out, Over the Mountain, as soon as I heard that, I actually tried to make a floating bridge out of parts. I had this giant spring, I had this like cylindrical thing that the strings went around and attached to a spring, and I had a giant screw sticking out of it, which I would push down as my vibrato bar. And I remember I went to my guitar lesson, I was so proud of myself. I was like, I made it, I made one of these. And I showed my guitar teacher, and as soon as I did the first dive bomb, boom, the string broke and it snapped. And he was just like, oh, shit. and I was just all teary-eyed, and it was very traumatic. So, but Randy, the way he incorporated real guitar classical music, anything from the verses of Revelation to D, of course, to Goodbye to Romance, to, I mean, so many things, the intro to Diary, all of that. He was really bringing in not just classical music, but classical guitar into metal, and brought the two together, and nobody made it work the way he did. It was perfect. And actually, when they reissued those first two albums, I did an article for Music Radar. I just went and found it. And if you do a search of musicradar.com, I do this whole thing where I'm talking about all that stuff. And at the end of it, there is a little MP3 that you can download. And it's of my band at the time playing Over the Mountain when I was 13 years old. So hang on, let me put this on, let me shut this off, and I'm gonna play it for you. Okay, here's, at 13, my band Paradox. Yeah. So there you go. Yes, Randy Rhoads. Who knows what he would have done had he stuck around a little bit longer. The way the sound that they had, I think, was a carryover from the Sabbath albums, because Iommi, he would double track his leads. They wouldn't be perfect, you know, he'd be venture in two different directions sometimes. And it gave it a very cool sound. And Randy double tracking, more than double tracking, I believe, a lot of his stuff and the solos, and it created that same kind of thing. Like, for example, you know, Crazy Train. Let's get some sound back up. You know, that whole, you know, that thing. I think it was really just going. But there's two guitars doing it, and they're falling in between each other, and it's creating this whole thing of... And it was just a cool-ass fucking sound. Yeah. So, doing a lot of that stuff. And the way he was venturing into different scales and bringing that into metal. You know, Diary again. You know, that scale he was using. That scale that he was using in that. With the sharp 4, the flat 2. Yeah, he was getting into some cool shit. Who knows what would have happened, what we would have been blessed with musically. Yeah. Well, if anything, he inspired people who carried the torch and through his influence made their own music, and we did get a piece of Randy through all the guitar players that followed him. So thank you, Randy. And thank you, Vince. All right, bye-bye. Vince, how you doing? Ron here. So you requested a cameo video about scales and modes. Now that could easily be a 10-hour cameo video. So we need to kind of shrink it down and simplify and just touch on a little 1 grain of sand on that beach. So you mentioned something about the Mixolydian scale, so I will just jump right on that. What is that scale? You could look at it from a bunch of different angles, and they are all correct. It is when you take a major scale, we'll just stick to the key of C, nice and easy. And what you do is you play that scale from the 5th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we act like it's this scale, but we're still using the notes of the C. So, and now if we base all the music around this G note now, and we're still using the notes that are from the key of C, there is a different relationship of notes that happens and a different sort of emotion to it all. It doesn't have that simplicity and innocence of emotion that a straight up normal major scale has. If we're sticking to the key of C, but we're making everything over G, you have now that little change that happens. Gives it a little bit of attitude, it gives it a different vibe. And that's what modes are. It is a way of just naming and defining these different scales that we get from that major scale when we don't play it from the first note to its octave, but we'll do, so example, the fifth note to its octave. The Mixolydian is the name, the Mixolydian scale. So, that's one way to look at it. Another way is to say, okay, it is taking a G major scale, and we are flattening the seventh note of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, flatten it down. So you can look at it from that way as a modified G scale. On a guitar, we can look at it like, okay, it is a scale where we can have 2 whole steps, next string, 2 whole steps, next string, 2 whole steps. That is an easy way to get around a G Mixolydian or any Mixolydian scale all over the neck. You just take your starting note, G, and you just go 2 whole steps, 2 whole steps, 2 whole steps. And then go to the next G, do the same. Next one. And wherever there is a G, just imagine that shape on the neck. Here's another G. Boom, boom, boom. So you can take all your G notes and just use that easy guide and just move around. Like that. And now you have mapped out the G Mixolydian scale. But the thing about modes is that every single scale, they're all connected, they're all the same. We're just giving priority to a different note of that scale. So, by saying that this is a G Mixolydian scale all over the neck, it is also a C major scale. So it's whatever we prioritize, and that's the best way to put it, whatever everything is going to resolve around, whatever the hub of the music is, whatever the foundation is that we're playing over. If it's G, these notes are going to be, it's going to end up being a G Mixolydian scale, mode. Whatever your big rock ending would be, that's the mode. Like that's the tonality, modality, whatever you want to call it. Thank you very much. Good night. Buy our merch. So that, now if we play the same batch of notes, but the music was feeling like it had a C in it, then it would just be straight up C, Ionian mode as we would call it, or C major scale. La. Like that. And that's really what modes are. It is a way of getting around the restrictions that were placed where the powers that be said, you can only use this sequence. Anything else is too complex and it's going to make people do bad things, so you can only use that. So the loophole to get away with other vibes is to use modes. But again, this is getting into a 10-hour cameo. So I'm just going to stop there. I've barely scratched the surface. I've barely touched on anything with it, but hopefully it is enough to satisfy a cameo video. So, thank you, Vince. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man, it's totally good. Everyone's cool. And Derek, yes, Derek is a very funny guy. Clickbait Vince, that's your new nickname. Oh, shit.